because man's task is to make the earth after the model of heaven. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Man's project is to heavenize the earth. Man is made to transform the world from glory to glory, to take hold of it and break it down and remake it after the image of heaven.
Welcome back to the Reformed Reset. My name is Grant, and joined with me is my beautiful wife, Ericha, the weaker vessel.
Hello, everyone.
Guys, if you would, please hit that subscribe button, the like button, and the bell right now. That would help us a ton. It would help us get into that YouTube algorithm. Check out the description below for all of our social media links, our email, takeoldstudios@gmail.com. You can send us an email. There's a link to our merch store. There's a link to our Patreon. And also right now, time is of the essence. Click on the link below for our Family Advent devotional guide called Behold Your King. You can get an ebook PDF version of it for $1.99 at ezrapress.ca. The link's in the description below, and you can use it for your family worship during the season of Advent as you build anticipation to the birth of our King. And when we put out this episode, it'll probably be
Advent starts this coming week.
Right when Advent starts.
Yep.
So, get to it. It's,
right.
$1.99. That's like, how some people say, it's like a coffee a month, you're sacrificing. That's not even a coffee. That's like half a coffee.
No. Yeah.
Or like gas station
it's
coffee.
It's like the cup that the coffee comes in.
It's true. The ink that's on the cup. But anyway, so go check all that stuff out. We are going to do an episode here.
A Q&A.
Which is a type of Q&A here. Because we had some questions.
So this Q&A will be specifically for the episode that we did on blessing daughters.
Yeah, blessing your daughters.
If we have... I don't think we had any questions on the boys yet. We'll have to wait and see what that one looks like. Yeah. We may end up having questions for that one. We'll do a separate episode for that one if we have questions. But this one, we knew we were going to get questions for. When we sat down to record it, we knew there's no way you can qualify this. And essentially, if you do qualify it, you will be qualifying yourself out of a job.
Out of making a point.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Exactly.
You qualify yourself out of making a point with your podcast.
Yeah, and this is true whenever you talk about girls or women or anything, because there is this unspoken rule about Christians being super nice and not hurting ladies' feelings.
Oh, there's a huge unspoken rule that you don't call out the sin of women. That you don't call them to repentance. You don't tell them they need to try harder. You don't call them to obedience and faithfulness.
Right.
The whole online social media crowd is that women need to just be catered, coddled. And I know this is going to come off like, oh, he's a man who's a big jerk.
That's fine. Better you than me.
But it's always right. You go, boss babe. You're, get
slay
it,
queen.
girl, slay queen. It's all that. And then hardly any just maybe repent of your sin. Maybe all your anxiety and your this and that and all that stuff is not because just, that's life and life is a lot. Maybe you're lazy. Mm-hmm. Maybe you haven't been in the Word and maybe you've been a hearer of the Word and not a doer.
Right. Or maybe you've been catechized by the world your whole life and then being told something really offends you. Yeah.
So we knew that episode was probably going to generate some uncomfortable feelings.
Okay, and so one of the questions we got was from one of our dear friends, and we know her and we love her, and I love that she asked questions of us, and because I know her so well, I know that she was being incredibly genuine in the questions she was asking.
Right.
She wasn't defensive or anything. She was just genuinely asking for some clarification.
Yeah.
Some of the clarifications were, do you think all women should be wearing makeup? Do you think all women ought to be a certain way? Essentially was her question. Do all ladies look like a particular thing?
Well, I thought we had touched on this in there, and maybe we did and we didn't talk about it for very long, but I don't think what we're saying, and help me because you have that woman angle on it, but we're not saying that women need to all look like this. They all need to do the exact same thing, because then that would go right back to the boring, modern, right angle, like plain.
Here's your recipe for the perfect, like, Stepford Wives.
Right, because if that's what we said, then you're back to zero. You're back to egalitarianism, where there is no difference, there is no beauty, there is no multicolored world, which is what God has given us. So it's not that there's some mold we're saying,
Every woman's hair ought to be 21 inches, no longer, no shorter. Everyone's... Like, that's not what we're saying. We're not saying every woman must have a 10-product skincare routine they use nightly. Like, no one's saying that.
Yeah, that's good.
I think it's important to note that we're not saying this is the recipe to get to be the ideal woman, because here's the thing. Beauty is objective.
Yeah, it is.
You can have two separate women doing the same 10 product skincare routine every night, and one woman is always going to look better than the other one. Like, that's just the world we live in.
Isn't it true, everyone? This is true.
That's the world we live in.
Right.
So that isn't the point necessarily.
And you know what? Beauty being objective has been a thing in history for a long time. In the Bible, Abigail is called beautiful. She was a really beautiful woman. Rachel was called a really beautiful woman. Bathsheba, David was like, she is really beautiful. Right? That was the temptation.
Right.
Was she was really beautiful. And it's only until recently, when this whole beauty's in the eye, it's only until relativism has been introduced, where we get to define truth. And God is no longer our standard of truth, that we get stuff like beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Right.
And I know you're just like, wait, what about preferences?
And like romanticism too, where it's like you are confusing a feeling with a fact sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, romanticism, said your feelings or your emotions about a thing is what determines whether it's, true and good or not.
Yeah. So the point was not necessarily like, here's the recipe. The point is that beauty is objective, right? There is like such a thing as a beautiful woman.
Right.
And wherever you are on the sliding scale of beauty, whether you were very fortunate or you were very unfortunate, wherever you are in that scale, you ought to be trying to be as beautiful as you possibly can be.
Right.
And this is why there is no recipe, because for some women, they cannot afford that 10 product skincare routine, right?
Yeah,
so for you, it would be sin to try and spend above your means, or to try or for some women, it is sheer vanity, and they need to put some of those away and focus more on the internal rather than the external, which is their,
the internal
preoccupation always.
Yeah, that's right. Well, so if you said, here is what every woman should wear to be beautiful, and you said it's this long list of foundation and eye stuff and this stuff and whatever these things are that you have, but one girl might use all that, and you're like, oh wow, that really did enhance and made her beautiful, and then another girl uses it and it's like, well,
you don't know how to use that, honey. It mucked it all up.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, for men out there, like, when you look at a girl done up and she's all done up, and you know right away, like, oh wow, she's beautiful. And then you also know a woman who does the same thing, and you're like, she is just starving for attention. Yeah. She's doing that to allure, to be sensual, to be vain, and they might have done almost a similar thing. So the other thing about this idea of beautifying and wearing makeup and wearing whatever feminine type girly clothing and that sort of thing is that it's actually not meant to just glorify the girl. It is meant to glorify her creator. Right. And so that needs, it does start in the heart and then come out in this fashion. So
that's why as beautiful as you can be, because that looks different in different contexts, right? I think that there are certain parts of the country where wearing certain types of makeup is probably a poor choice. Like if you are in an incredibly humid environment, maybe wearing a lot of makeup isn't going to be a great choice for you, and it's not going to enhance your beauty at all. It's just going to get sweated off, and you're going to look like a pig in all of 15 minutes. That's fine. I have no problem. That's a sound logic, right? Yeah. But here's the thing. For most of us ladies, we don't need to be told you're trying too hard. For most of us, we need to be told you need to try harder.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that women don't like being told. You need to try harder.
Well, so that's a really good point, because usually in Christian culture, us like trying too hard to be godly is never it's never the
point.
problem.
Yeah.
Our problem is we're not trying hard enough to obey God in everything. And you might say, well, you have the problem of like the Pharisees or something. And I would say, no, the Pharisees complicated all of God's commands so much to the extent that they exempted themselves from his commands.
From obedience, yeah.
From obedience. What they did was they muddied the water so much that they couldn't see through to know what obedience really was.
Which is kind of what the liberal world is doing with gender. They're making it so complicated.
Right, because if you say anything, like I said, you just can't qualify, because then you qualify yourself out of making a point. Mm-hmm. But you say anything, and any comment post online, you have a whole slew of, but what aboutists? Right? You get the what aboutists on your back and say, well, what about, and what about, and what about, and what about? Yeah. And it's the 2% of the population or 0.5% that are this way or that way or whatever it is. And again, you don't make a rule out of an exception. That's like a horrible way.
Sure, and of course there are exceptions, right? So one of the questions was like, well, what if my husband doesn't like when I do whatever? And this is an interesting question, because I feel like a lot of husbands are probably scared to tell their wife, I feel like you look fat and you smell bad.
So
you know what I mean?
Yes.
That doesn't usually go well.
Right.
For the husband?
No. And that's the thing. Like, if wives truly are wanting to know what their husband prefers, then you need to, if you're going to ask that question, you can't be offended. And if you truly want to know, then if he answers in a way, it's like, oh yeah, I really would appreciate if you wore makeup more often, or if you wore dresses more often, or what did your hair like this more often. You can't take it personal and then go, oh, he hates it when I don't. No, that's not what he's saying. You asked him, would you like this? And he said, yeah, that would be great.
And sometimes I feel like, try it and find out, right? Like, if you want to know if your husband likes it when you put some mascara on, try it. And say, what do you think, babe?
Right.
And see, he might be like, it's fine, but I liked it better when you didn't. Mm-hmm. Try it. Maybe he doesn't even know, because most men, if you say, babe, do you like when I wear mascara, are going to be like, I don't know, but you look pretty right now. Like, they're really, it's...
Yeah, are you wearing it now?
Yeah. You have to give the man a fair shake, is all I'm saying. But also, of course, we're not telling you to do something your husband hates. Like, that's not the point here. The point is to be as beautiful as you can be. Mm-hmm. So if your husband is telling you it doesn't look beautiful when you do it, then don't do it. Of course. Like, that's the person you're supposed to submit to.
Yeah. But also, men by and large are just not going to have any clue. But they are going to. Right. But they do want to look at you.
Right.
So if you make yourself
look attractive,
yeah, they're gonna like it.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, all men are gonna enjoy looking at their
This, like, one of the funny things is, like, universally, men like when women wear dresses or skirts, or it's girly, it's feminine. They like it when their wife or their girlfriend or whatever looks very pretty and feminine and wears fun, girly dresses. Mm-hmm. But I had a friend once who asked her husband, do you like when I wear dresses? This was many years ago. Mm-hmm. And he said no. And it struck me, like, kind of odd. Like, that's weird, because a lot of dudes really like dresses and are really stoked when they're, women do that. So, come to find out, he just didn't like her dresses. Oh, yeah. And it's because the way that she wore dresses when they first got married, when they were non-Christians, were very sexual, and they were very tight and low cut and all these different things.
Right.
So for him, when he thought dresses, he thought this, like, bodycon, super sleek, sexual kind of dress, and he did not want his wife looking that way.
Don't go back to that.
Exactly. Yeah. So, like, over the course, like, I love to thrift and go shopping, and I love vintage clothing. So, like, she started kind of getting a few pieces and putting them on. Turns out he did really like it. He just liked the new style.
A guy wouldn't wouldn't know the difference between, or he wouldn't know how to say, well, these types of dresses. If he did, you'd be like, why do you know
it's kind of gay that a guy knows
so much about dresses?
Silhouette on all the dresses. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The other thing, and so this goes with the makeup, right? Well, he doesn't like when I wear makeup. And Okay, you got to be tough with yourself. It might just be the way you do it.
Right.
It might just be.
Are you good at it?
Yeah, yeah. Are you good at it?
Right.
Is it, And something I would say too, from the guy's side of it, there are days when I have learned there are a lot of ways. I don't even know how many. A lot of thousands of ways to do makeup.
Yes.
And she'll do something, and I'm like, oh babe, I really like how you did your makeup today.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I did like half as much, or I did just, it's something really small, and I think she's done this big thing, but you.
And I take notes and I file it away.
Yeah, and you switch it up, and you just kind of
just try something different. Yeah. It doesn't mean you have to do it every single day for the rest of your life, but try it. Get better at it. Grow in that skill, right?
Yeah.
You're not.
It's fun.
Yeah, and like I'm gonna be 34 years old by next birthday. Like my fine lines are starting to show up, and things are starting to change, and like it's going to be a challenge, I'm sure, as those wrinkles get deeper, to figure out how to do makeup differently and like an aging skin versus. And this is not to say every woman has to wear makeup. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is this is something you have to challenge yourself in and say, am I looking as feminine and glorifying God and my husband as much as I can?
That's the principle. The principle is aiming towards femininity in 100 miles an hour.
Yes.
That's your principle. And in that, if you then ask, well, does that mean I have to wear makeup, or every girl's has to be? I would challenge you. Why are you asking that?
Because if you replace that with something else, if you say, are you saying every woman should know how to bake bread from scratch? I'd say probably, yeah. Actually, I think you probably should know how to. That doesn't mean everyone has to make sourdough. It doesn't mean everyone needs to learn how to make a dinner roll. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, in principle, you should know how to make bread for your family. That is a good thing to do.
Pretty sure Proverbs 31 woman did.
So try and do that. Okay, are there reasons why women shouldn't? Yeah, like if your family's all gluten intolerant, probably don't be making bread.
Well, like if a guy...
Like, of course there are exceptions,
If a guy came to me and I said, you need to be the theological powerhouse for your family. Like, you need to be able to lead your family in Bible study, and you need to do that. And all he came back to me was, what, so I need to be a systematic theologian? Or does everyone need to read a systematic theology then? All that would signal to me is that he's looking for an out by making some grandiose example of what does everyone need to, and I'm exaggerating on purpose to prove a point.
Right.
And I would say, sounds like you do.
Yeah.
Because you're the one struggling to even think, oh, I need to read up on some theology.
Yeah.
Not everyone is going to be. But that person is perhaps looking for the out of the hard work.
And that was kind of the purpose behind the episode with our daughters, is like training them to be women who are not afraid to be challenged in that way.
Yeah, that's good.
Right? Train your daughters to not be afraid of their femininity. Train them not to be scared of a curling iron. I can't even tell you how many girls are petrified of a curling iron. It's a stinking curling iron. Learn it. Master it. If you hate it, that's fine. Get something else. Try something else. Learn to braid. There's like 1,000 different ways you can... Whatever it is, I don't care.
And in the world of tutorials...
Yeah, that's true, guys. It's really easy for us. But like there's so many different ways you can like learn to adorn yourself. And yes, every woman should be figuring out how to adorn herself to the glory of God.
Right.
I don't care how you do it. There are improper, ungodly ways to do it, and there are ways you can glorify God in it. Do the God glorifying ways. Figure it out. What do you like? What does your husband like? What honors your father? And that's the goal for your daughters, is bless them, train them how to be a column sculpted in the palace style, whatever that looks like.
Right.
And we have one daughter who shies away from the more girly, and one daughter who loves it, and we have to kind of, tone down and shape and direct a little bit. And it's like, it goes in both directions. We get that. But you want your daughters and yourself to be as feminine as possible, to be the most beautiful column that you can be. Not all columns are the same, but how beautiful can you be? do that. For some women, it takes more effort. For others, less. But even the ones who are naturally beautiful, it's not okay for them to just say, well, I'm naturally beautiful, so I don't have to try. Like, try and be more beautiful. If you are already, if you're born a 10, then girl, think about the potential you got.
Go to 11.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Praise God for that beauty, and what else can you do? And, you know, when we first moved to Brooklyn, it was kind of like a fun cultural thing that I noticed, because we were in the South for so long, and in the South, women are very girly. By and large, Southern women love big hair. They love flashy jewelry. They are like soul sisters for me, right? Like, I love it. I love that they love being girly so much. It's no wonder Dolly Parton came from the South, you know?
Yeah, no
Just
surprise.
saying. But when we moved to Brooklyn, it was really interesting.
It's a lot different.
Because, like, it was
the
not...
urban girl thing.
Yeah, the urban sleek look. If you saw a businesswoman wearing a dress, that would have been, like, pretty rare, honestly.
Yeah.
Dresses,
Not
skirts.
To work. It would have been too...
It would have been like club wear. It wouldn't have been like just the regular housewife looking cute in a sundress kind of a thing. That was not common there. And I can remember being there and thinking, I love a pair of jeans and I love a good t-shirt like the rest of, you know, most stay-at-home moms. It's great. But because of the context that I'm in and how the lines are so blurred here, I want to consciously dress more feminine because of the context that I'm in. Like, I want to look different and not to be gaudy, not to be ostentatious, not to like be that, but because I want to look like a Christian woman. Right. I want to look like a girl because here the lines are so blurred and I want to look separate.
It's funny, the word for makeup, cosmetics, is the same word as cosmos, and it has the same connotation of a designed, orderly, just like creation, just like the cosmos is. And so an unkempt look is ungodly, or something that isn't designed and actually cared about, something that isn't, you know what I mean? Like that's what Paul says. The women ought to be modest and orderly, and every translation chooses a different word, but it's the same word for cosmetic. So makeup is
post-mill, y'all, right? We're just reordering fallen creation. That's all.
We're just taking that girl from garden to Garden City.
That's right. That's right.
But it's all in the same language, the same family of language, even where when we saw God create. And then he filled those spaces, the air, land, and the water, and created mankind. And he does all this stuff, and he continues to beautify. And then that same word for, you know, cosmos and created order is used to talk about how women are to dress. The Holy Spirit doesn't make mistakes. He was trying to point the women to something. Look, like this, where creation is orderly, and it's not chaotic, and it's not a mess. And
that's the point. Another point that we were trying to make, and I don't know if it came across, was that this idea that if it's natural, it's the best, that God made you just how you are. And so if you're a woman and you have a full beard, it's fine. God made you that way.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Again, you're making the exception the rule. Because do women grow beards in this world? Yeah.
It used to be like a sideshow.
And it's so infrequent that it was a circus sideshow, right? The strong bearded woman.
Right.
But we were talking about this too with like France, where women don't shave their armpits or anything, I think. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure just the arm. But like,
I don't even know if that's true anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. That used to be a known thing. But we because there was a part in the comment from our friend that said, you know, what about somebody who, or, you know, she was making a distinction between somebody who is doing things that are kind of butch on purpose. Right. To sort of middle finger to God, I hate that I'm a woman.
And that's a trend. Like, it's a trend for women to dye their armpit hair because it's a middle finger to cultural norms or something.
Right. I'm going to buck against everything feminine possible. So I'm going to have short hair, and I'm going to color it, and I'm going to never wear makeup, and I'm going to get fat and just everything. I'm not going to
make myself as unattractive as possible.
Yeah. And yes, obviously that is a sin. That is outright high-handed sin against that woman's creator. That's what she's doing. But if you're a French woman and you look perfectly feminine and just your culture is a little weird, in my opinion, like that's not the same thing.
Right.
That's not the same thing.
And this is where, obviously what the beauty standard is in 2023 is not what it was in 1903. It's changed, sure.
Yeah, and this is where Christians just continue to keep their eye on the world in a way to, still uphold the biblical standard with wherever they are. Because looking like a feminine woman, although, you know what? More and more, you really do see across cultures. Compare, in my mind, I'm thinking a geisha girl over in China. Mm-hmm. The beautiful colors. It's bright.
Weren't they also prostitutes, though?
I don't know. I don't know that much about them. Okay.
Scratch
Mulan,
that. I don't feel
Mulan
like
was not a...
I don't feel like we should use them as the standard.
Well, when you think of other cultures than just a Western culture, a feminine woman... A lot of times it's similar.
They're always adorned. They're always adorned.
Yes, they're always adorned. That's good.
Yes. A woman is...
That was my point. Not that women should look like prostitutes. That's actually a distinction of being adorned in a way that you don't want to be adorned.
Oh, it's like a... Yes. Okay. Yes. Women are always...
should talk for a few minutes now.
Women are always adorned in any culture. You see this even in... scripture with Esther, right? They went through months of treatments to become beautiful, and that was a cultural standard then. Mm-hmm. It's still a cultural standard. It's this is not new for women to go through treatments to look more beautiful. It's not like this is a modern thing or some product of the patriarchy, some oppression on us from men. Women must try to look beautiful because our bodies are still fallen. And we age and things move and sometimes things don't match up. One eyebrow doesn't look like the other and you should work on that a little bit. Or sometimes you got a hair you got to pluck, I got a mole right here. And listen, ladies, sometimes you got to pluck a hair and it's fine, It's good for the world. It glorifies God to pluck the hair.
Yeah, they're always adorned.
Right.
And just... think about it for a minute and think about women all over the world. Those are the ones you know for sure. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
We're not trying to set forth a formula for you. We're just saying in whatever context you're in whatever ability, capability, whatever God-honoring way situation that you're in, try the hardest you can. And
to comment again on the husband's opinion thing, because... part of it was what if, and we hear this a lot with a lot of topics, to be honest. What if that's just what the husband likes? Shouldn't I just submit? And a lot of things, yeah, of course, that's easy. But men aren't perfect either. Mm-hmm. And they can like something that they could be saying they like something just because they're too chicken to contradict you. Or they could just like something that's wrong or sinful or something. Mm-hmm. And that should be challenged. And I don't know if the wife...
Well, a woman is the glory of man, but ultimately she is made to glorify God, right? So if your husband is telling you to do something that does not honor the Lord,
right,
then of course you go against the husband and you always honor the Lord. Now with this, it's a little trickier because if you are a 16-year-old girl and your dad's telling you may not,
right,
you need to obey your father, right?
Yes, yeah.
But if your father is telling you, and I don't know that we would have any listeners who are in this situation, I don't know many godly fathers who are telling their daughters, don't be feminine. I just don't think that's probably happening.
Right.
He might have some strict rules on hairstyles or makeup or whatever, and then you need to obey your father. But that's why I'm saying in whatever context you're in. If that's your context, then you be as feminine as you can while still honoring your father or your husband or whatever,
Yep.
And you're training yourself, you're training your daughters. This is how you honor the Lord, by being... a rightly ordered woman, rightly reflecting who God created you to be, and you are a column sculpted in the palace style, upholding what he's made you to uphold.
Yeah.
Anyway, I hope that's clarifying a little bit.
Yeah, I hope so too. Principle, that if you take anything away, it's that there is a principle that needs to be your target.
And we also don't want to take the sting away, though, right? Like, if it kind of like punched you in the eye, I kind of want it to sting you a little bit, because there's probably a little bit of this that we all need to work harder on.
Well, usually if your response is, but what about, then that means it probably stung
None of
a
us
little.
are perfect, right?
No.
We all have lazy days. We all have lazy moments or blind spots, and it's good to just be reminded we can try harder. We can.
Yep.
And not to glorify ourselves or to be vain, but to honor the Lord. And our fathers, husbands, children, whatever.
Love your neighbor, right? Like you said,
yeah, brush your
don't
teeth.
be a Gnostic, brush your teeth. I mean, you're just loving your neighbor. The very bare minimum, you're at least loving the cashier that you're going to talk to at Walmart later.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
If I were to be telling you a story about a really nasty, stinky, ugly woman, you have an image in your head. If I were to tell you, oh, there was this really lovely, sweet, beautiful woman that I was speaking to, you have an image in your head.
That's true.
And you know what? Probably all of us would have a slightly different image, but I'll bet you they're closer than what we all would like to admit at times, because there is a standard.
Right. Well, there you go. I hope that was helpful. And
Clear as mud now?
Amen. Clear as mud. Tell it to my students all the time. And they just laugh like, wait a minute. What? No. And I'm like, all right, moving on. It's good stuff. Well, again, drop your questions below. If you have more, we'll answer them.
Maybe not on this topic, though. I feel like I've said all I have to say.
Perhaps.
If you're still offended, you're just going to be offended.
That's true. People really don't like this, though.
If you want to be encouraged, choose to be encouraged.
Yeah. Very good. All right, guys. We're going to wrap this one up. So, thanks for listening. Subscribe, hit the like button, share it with your friends. Help us reach new listeners. We greatly appreciate it. But until next time, take hold and reorder creation by first reforming your home. This has been the Reformed Reset.
But on the basis of grace and on the finished work of Jesus Christ, the project is back and forth, and the destiny of a new transformed world is assured.
I just put the sourdough in the oven too, so I've got like 40 minutes.